Today on Woodturning, we've got a prickly project for you. We're going to make a porcupine toothpick holder.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Thompson Lathe Tools. Welcome to a new level of professional wood-turning tools. Made by a woodturner, for woodturners.
Okay, on today's project, we're going to have a lot of fun. I think it's a really neat project to make, and our little porcupine guy there, he's really interesting. If you want to make a lot of these, you can. I think that'd be very popular if you want to take that out to craft shows. But anyway, what we're going to start working with today is a 4x4 kiln-dried piece of maple, and we're going to mount that on the lathe. I just want to get my centers here real quick. And then you take a I don't know what the term is, but it's a punch that has a spring in it, so it makes the hole for you, and that'll help us mount this up. But anyway, we're going to take, this is about 9 inches long, this piece of maple, and we're going to mount it between centers, and we're going to start making our little porcupine shape. You can make any shape you want. I think this project has a lot of options and variables to it. You can make anything you want, which is really cool. So those little indentations I made help me center. See how it spins on there? Those tips went into those little holes. So now when I crank that in there, I know I'm perfectly centered. And I need to unlock the headstock. So we're going to bring this up here. I'm going to move my movable on-off switch. And let's see. We're going to make sure nothing hits here. Okay. Once I get this where I want it, that's about the right height. Okay. I'm going to dig out my roughing gouge, and we're going to start roughing this out. I really like working with kiln-dried wood because it's easier to cut for me. When you have a really sharp tool like we have with Thompson tools, the dried wood just seems to cut really clean. Not that I don't mind cutting green wood because that's a lot of fun too. But when you have your tool rest nice and shiny and clean and your tool is sharp, it just slides across and it's a real pleasure to cut. You can see I'm just shifting my weight. I have my feet in the position that I want them. And so I just shift the weight from left to right. I'm also standing out of the way of the shavings because I've already had breakfast. Don't feel like I need any more fiber in my system. But you don't have to take a ton of wood off to rough something out. So if you're just starting to turn, the whole idea is you sneak up on about everything you turn because the faster you go, the bigger the cut you take, the more trouble you're going to get yourself into. And I think we're just about rounded out here. If you take your time and have a sharp tool and just take an easy cut on it, you're going to wind up with a good surface. See how that looks? It looks really good. Got two little tiny flat edges, but that's not going to bother us. We're going to switch to our spindle gouge now and start shaping our porcupine. Now right now that's my Oklahoman coming out. Right now I'm using a 1/2 inch Thompson spindle gouge, and it's a standard flute. It really cuts nicely, but I get back to that sneak up on it theory. All I'm trying to do is just sneak up on getting my shape going. This is going to be the nose side of my porcupine. That's going to be the rear end. So we just need to move some wood right now. But again, if you rush your cuts and try to knock all this out of the way in one shot, you're not going to be a very happy camper. What I do want to make sure though is I leave enough thickness here that I don't make this really skinny and wobbly at my attachment point, because if you do that, then the piece could break free. So I'm just kind of eyeing this in. Like I said, I have a 9-inch piece of wood here, and I'm only going to use about 7 inches of it, but I just wanted enough of a healthy size piece on either end so I'm comfortable cutting this. And you see I'm curving here, which is a whole different thing. And it's just good practice. As I'm coming in, I'm starting to swing my body back to my left and put the weight back on my left, and I make that swing. We're not going to make the head that big, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit because I made a ridge on the other one. It looked like the ridge on a Triceratops. But what I want to do on this one, I want to see if I can get a little more of a fat curve going. That way the toothpicks will kind of stick out in more of a circular shape. So this is a giant bead that we're going to make now. And like I said, you can make any shape you want. That's what's so fun about this project. You can make all sorts of animals too. We were debating on whether or not to do a pig, you know, or a blowfish, things like that. But porcupine seemed to be the perfect thing to go with because they started the quill thing way back when, didn't they? So I'm going to work on this a bit and get this shaped out. And then we'll put a little detail on this. Okay, now we're ready to start shaping the head of our porcupine. And you can see I have a ridge there. Like I said, it makes it look a little bit like a Triceratops. But that's what we're going to start doing over here. And I need to whittle down some of the wood that I've got because I was fairly generous on how much I left. Because as they always say, you cannot put wood back on, right? Right. And we all know that because we've all done it. So I'm going to just start taking a little bit of this shelf off of here, the Triceratops look. That would be kind of cool. You could do a dinosaur one of these. Now I'm going to come over here and just try to make a very clean intersection right into the body. When you start a cut like this, and that worked perfectly, you have to have the tool just slightly open, and you see how the wood starts feeding now over the tool? Now the tool follows in that direction, and that's how you make that cut without getting a catch. So now we want to come down here, we're going to make our scoop again, and it's the same thing. I'm touching the tip, you see the wood going over the tip. Once that starts happening, then I can start making my cut and swing my body. Now I know I want the nose to end before this, or the snout. I don't know what a porcupine has. Porcupine must have a nose, I think, not a snout. That wouldn't be right. So we're just going to delineate that right here, so I know where I am. Ooh, I used a big word, delineate. I feel proud of myself. So this is a little bit too wide here. So we're going to just go whittle that down a little bit more. And as we do, we're going to take more and more wood off of the snout. I want to leave a ridge there because I'm going to make that little bulge on the end. I think this is fun. I can't wait to see all the different styles that you guys might do out there, you guys and gals, as you're turning. That will be fun to see because, like I said, I've just barely scratched the surface on what we can do with this. Okay, I'm gently coming in. I'm still using my large 1/2-inch spindle gouge. I'm kind of reaching the point of diminishing returns here because that curve is kind of tough to make, and I know I'm not going to be able to make that bead there. So I'm going to switch out now to my 3/8-inch spindle gouge, which is smaller. And I've said before, it's like going to a race car. It'll take off wood very, very quickly, and it's very maneuverable. So I want to make my snout about here. And by leaving this a little bit wide, I have room for design modifications in case I mess up. So we're going to come in here, whittle this down. See, I got a little tiny catch there because I presented the tool wrong. Opened it up, but here we go. Come into here. Make our final cut to here. Ooh, I kind of like that one. So I'm going to come in here. Now I want to make a bead, and we want it to be small. So I'm just going to quickly take this off. Now we're down to about the height we need. So now we're going to reestablish the end of the snout, like so. We're going to come here, roll this over just a little bit. There we go. Going to follow it all the way to the nose. There, we got our bead that way. Come over here. Come this way. I'm going to swing my body way over to make this bead now. There we go. That's cool. So what I'm going to do is clear out a little bit of excess wood I have right here. And then we're going to start making our lines, lay out our grid for drilling the holes in our porcupine toothpick holder. So our porcupine looks pretty cool. I'm looking right here. See, this is a nice feature on the Porcupine. And guess what? There's one on the other side because that's the way the grain runs. So I want to keep that on the side. I think that looks the best. It's up to you on what you want to do. So I'm going to put this right here, and I've got it pretty level. I could do this with an indexer. I'm just going to eye it in. I'm laying a flat carpenter's pencil on the tool rest and just coming around. Now these lines are going to be sanded off, so I'm not real worried about where I wind up with this. So the deal is I've got two lines like so. Now I want to find the middle point of them just by looking. And come in here with my, that's about right. This isn't art, this is craft. So like this. So I made, okay, I got a center line and two end lines. So now what you do is you simply eye this in. Okay, I'm going to take that in the center there. And we'll make another line. So I'll keep laying it out this way till I get a grid of about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch spacing on this. Once I have that done, then we'll work on the vertical lines. The line's going that way. Okay, now a porcupine is starting to look like a watermelon. But this is the spacing I wound up with. Again, this is not art, it's just craft. So I'm going to simply turn this on and find my center point and make a mark. And then I'm going to go, okay, that feels about right. Come back here. So now I've got my spacing. So I'm going to come back and just do this and this. And I'm going to come over here. You can, there is no wrong on this. Let me just put it that way. So I even put an extra line back here on the behind because we might drill holes back there, but I don't know. We might not. So what I've done is I've established a grid now. And so each one of these places, I'm going to have to drill a hole. So the issue with trying to drill a hole in there is it's round. How do you drill straight? Well, I'm going to take my spring punch here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a point on each one of those intersections where I want to put a toothpick. So how do you drill the holes in here and keep them in line with the curve so it looks really cool? Because when we did the first porcupine, you see how the toothpicks follow the curve. That's what makes it cool. Not that they're just drilled straight in from the top. That'd look really bad. So I found online this cool little thing called the Drill Pilot. It comes with this piece of plastic and this little tiny flexible 1/16 inch bit. And so you put that through there and that's how you drill. What are all these for? These help you drill right on corners and stuff like that. It cost me like $12.50 on Amazon. I'm sure I could have messed around and made one. It might have taken me a couple hours and a few prototypes, but geez, that's easy. I'm going to keep this a lifetime. And no, they don't endorse this or anything. I just I like it, so I'm going to use it. So anyway, so you take the bit, slide it in there, and this is why I made the indentation, so I can find the spot where I want to start the hole. Now watch this. You push these little feet up here, then they are perfectly in line with the curve. So now the bit being flexible, it doesn't matter where I am, as long as I push straight in like this. Let's get that in there and push in. Now I have a hole that is perfectly in line with that curve coming out. So this one is just wash, rinse, and repeat, and try not to fall asleep. So I'm going to go ahead and do all these holes here, and then we'll go on to the next step. Now we've got one little problem here. That 1/16 inch thick drill bit, wide, whatever, it's too skinny to have the toothpicks go in perfectly. So, I mean, these are barely fitting, so there's a chance they'll fall out. So what I wound up doing is I just got a slightly wider drill bit that's about as wide as the body of the toothpick, and you can see I want it to go in about that deep. That way I have enough purchase in there that these aren't going to fall over the table when you are playing around with it at dinner time. Now the deal is that I think the reason you have to use that 1/16 inch drill bit is because it flexes. So if you have a bit like this and make a hole wider, this thing might overpower your angle and to tilt it and mess it up. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Anywho, so what I'm going to do here is you take the drill bit up here and you just start drilling in slowly, and you're going to feel the hole that's there, and it's just going to guide in. Very little resistance. So all I'm going to do is just run through these holes again and slightly widen them. Then we're going to have some toothpick fun. Okay, now our porcupine has all the holes, so we got to get rid of the lines before we have toothpicks in there, right? It look kind of bad. So we're going to smooth out the surface by sanding it. Then we're going to part it off the lathe. Then we're going to flatten the bottom so it'll sit just right on a table. So pre-toothpick, I want to put my finish on, and I want it to be quick drying, so I'm using some Watco crystal lacquer. It dries really quickly, and this is semi-gloss. So just put a couple coats on there, just back and forth. Real light coats dry quicker. And I'm doing it outside because I don't have to smell it. So anyway, put a couple coats on, we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll go back inside the shop and toothpick the crap out of it. That is how you make a porcupine toothpick holder. So until the next time on wood turning, keep turning.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Thompson Lathe Tools. Welcome to a new level of professional wood turning tools. Made by a wood turner for wood turners.